Badass Mining Company. I'm Sean. This is my partner in crime, Tan.
Hey guys. Well, I'm glad you made it back, even though we're like
Hour late. Okay, so the reason why we are an hour late is because there was a wreck on my way back, and I actually got an hour past where the turnoff to go on the detour was, so I got to go 2 extra hours back to where I had to turn to make a 3-hour drive. So it ended up being 5.5 hours of sitting in the mule.
Yes, and mind you, he left here around, what was about 12 o'clock.
It was 1 o'clock.
So, yeah, because we went and had lunch, and then he packed all the stuff and left. And thank you for coming out. That was really sweet of you.
You're welcome.
It was a wonderful Valentine's gift.
So anyway, I don't have any dates. As you can tell, I just walked through the door. And the connection may be really crappy right now because all I have is my phone with the cell connection to both get Tan online. She's connected to the hotspot on my phone. So if it is glitchy, we apologize. This weekend seems to be full of glitches, including a sideways video yesterday. We didn't even know until we were done. So.
Yeah, but you know what? It was fun.
Yeah, it was a good show. So
everybody saw us in bed together.
I know, that was the big joke.
That was naughty. Anyway, I have mine, so I'll read them, okay?
I bet I know what one of them is.
Oh, I bet you probably do. So are you ready?
Yep.
So the gold prices were exactly what they were yesterday. And they were exactly the same as they were on Friday.
Okay, do you want me to... I've got those written down, actually. Do you want me to read those off?
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay, so gold is $1,584.60 an ounce. Silver is going for $17.82 an ounce. And the metal, of which I do not speak its name,
platinum,
is $969 an ounce. Woo!
Okay, so here I got them. You ready?
Go for it.
In 1923, Howard Carter opened the burial chamber of the pharaoh Tutankhamun.
That is,
found the sarcophagus.
I knew she was going to grab onto that one for sure. Howard Carter was... Actually, Howard Carter was very different for that time because he was all about making sure everything got cataloged. And there was very few archaeologists during that period of time that cataloged jack anything. So.
Well, he had some extraordinary individuals with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So here's the next one.
Alrighty.
In 1963, the Beatles topped the British charts with "Please, Please Me."
Ah.
A Beatle fan.
Yeah, she's a Beatle fan.
I am. I like the Beatles. I always have. Oh, John. Okay. In 1874, the silver dollar becomes legal U.S. tender.
Yep.
Took them 1874 is when that happened.
Yep.
In 1978, the first computer bulletin board system was created.
Yay!
It was called U.S. in Chicago, Illinois.
That
So
is
that's where the very first bulletin board was.
so cool. I actually miss that age.
Yeah.
I really miss my bulletin board.
Yeah, you know what? I do too, because it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Okay, in 1968, I hope I got this. In Haleyville, Alabama, the very first telephone system goes into service.
Yep.
Okay, so in 1968, they got the telephone service in whatever. And then in 1978, they did the computer bulletin board. That was only like 10 years.
Well, yeah, and you got to remember that as soon as they started doing modem data transfer, the telecommunication companies had to step up their efforts on getting clearer signals, and they knew the direction that they had to head in at that time. And it's really interesting because modems are so cool, and it's really kind of sad that we ended up having to do away with them. I mean, we've still got modems, don't get me wrong, but nothing like an analog modem. I mean, that was just that sound that'll always resonate in my core. But it was just, I don't know, there's something soothing about that sound.
Okay.
Beep.
So our birthday person today,
Yes.
was John McEnroe. John McEnroe.
Oh, naughty
You know who he
John. Naughty Johnny.
He turned 61 years old today.
Wow, the bad boy of
Happy
tennis.
birthday, John. Yep, you got it. Okay, and here's your holidays.
Okay.
Today is National Almond Day. National Almond Day.
National
But the people in
Almond Day.
California are going nuts.
Go nuts.
Yep.
Ba-dunch.
You got that one.
Yeah.
Okay, and here's one of my favorite ones. This is exactly how it's written, that it was written out. Do a grouch a favor today.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Okay, they've gone too far. They have gone too far. Did anybody do me any favors today? No. Nah.
Excuse me. I think
Did anybody but Tan? Did anybody but Tan do me any favors today? No. Nah.
Yeah, he did get spoiled, believe me. Okay,
So
today is National Daytona Pole Day. I have no idea what that means. All I saw was like, so people in Daytona are putting up poles? Okay.
no, is it P-O-L-L or P-O-L-E?
P-O-L-E.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, I guess everybody's putting up poles. Maybe tomorrow will be Flag Day for them. Who knows?
How nice.
All
How
right,
nice of
so
them to
this
have a
one-
special holiday for their polls.
Okay, this one touches my heart, but the thing is that her name is really hard to pronounce, so bear with me as I do this. Her name is Elizabeth. Her last name is Peratovich. So it's Elizabeth Peratovich Day. And if you don't know who she is, in 1940, she was the ambassador, and she was the human rights activist fighting for the rights of Alaskan natives.
Aha.
So I'm sure they're celebrating in Alaska, especially in the villages. they're celebrating Elizabeth. So thank goodness for her.
Yeah, pretty much in Alaska, the one thing that I had noticed while I was there is that any excuse to have a party or a celebration, pretty much, yeah.
They'll do it.
Yep.
You're absolutely right there. Because when I first moved to Alaska, we were celebrating something every month, maybe twice a month.
Yep. That's I always thought that was cool though. It was a way to get the community together, which I really feel like the sense of community, we've lost that in America. It's so sad that we've lost the sense of community, but you know what? I get it. There's a lot of really untrustworthy people out there, and it's hard to feel like you're part of the community when you can't have trust in your community. So that's one of the topics we're going to be taking on. So,
well, here's a really cool thing about Alaska. Okay, so this is not the 4th of July, but this happened on the 4th of July. So one 4th of July, we had such terrible time with everything, the forest fires. Everything was burning, everything around. So they banned all fireworks. Now, mind you, at this time of year, fireworks, it's daylight. And people would have to wait till really late at night to shoot them off.
Like midnight, and you could still barely see them.
Yeah, I know. It's about as light as my hair is. But anyway, so this tells you what a community. So the museums down in downtown Anchorage took out the native drums, and they went out into the street downtown Anchorage and gathered all the people together, and they celebrated by having drum circles. And there were hundreds. There wasn't just a few. There were hundreds of people out there beating drums.
That's cool.
And this was awesome. It was the best 4th of July, because it was a community that was together.
Yeah.
And you heard people that were visitors to Alaska that were out there at that time saying how exhilarating it was and how they wanted to move to Alaska because they had never had that sense of community before.
Yeah.
So, mind you, that was the 4th of July, and that was something that was very special, but it is. Alaska does have a sense of community that I have never seen before. And, hopefully someday we'll see it again here down the lower 48. Yes, you're known as the lower 48.
Yep. And Alaska and Hawaii are known as the bastard stepchildren of the lower 48.
Yes, we are. Okay.
But the funny thing about that is the only reason why Alaska and Hawaii get excluded all the time from everything is because of this weird thing that was always instilled into American citizens was you have to be connected to the continent and the rest of the United States to count. Everybody else has to pay extra, no matter what. You pay extra, you don't get the same deals. If you want good things to happen to you, you have to be part of the 48.
Yeah, that's why Alaska tried to secede from the Union so many times.
Yep. But if you go through the last 100 years, actually 150 years, you'll find out that there's a lot of states that have tried to secede.
Oh yeah, and some of them did.
Mm-hmm.
That was until the Civil War,
Yep.
So, but anyway, so I want to know, so did you find out any more information about the tanker truck that turned over or spilled out?
Yeah, they've got hazmat on it now. As far as I know, the driver's okay. It was a double tanker. It was a double gasoline tank truck that rolled over on Highway 22, and apparently it
Was it
happened.
just really,
What's that?
was it just really slick out?
It was pretty slick, but it was actually more slick on 126, which I had to take instead through Sweet Home. And once we got up into the pass area, there was probably a good 3 inches of ice that was on the road. So,
Wow.
and it was foggy. It was so foggy.
Oh. Yeah.
But you know what? I'm
Well,
an excellent driver.
made it back. Do what?
I said, but I'm an excellent driver, so.
Yes, he is. He is. I couldn't trust myself to do the pass right now. So, and Sean will tell you that I've been in some pretty horrific wrecks.
So anyway, the other bit of news about that wreck is apparently it's affecting the watershed for the little city of what's the name of that place again? Oh yeah, Salem.
Great.
So Oregon's capital has tainted
Yeah.
water now. So yay.
Okay. So here's the sad thing about it is that we had an algae bloom this summer, and those poor people this is a city. These poor people had to come out of the city and to get water. And of course the National Guard and whatever else they got out there, they had water too. But I mean, people were coming into Woodburn and wanted to know if they could fill their water up. And mind you, I live in an RV park. So they were coming to the RV park and they were having to pay, but they were getting a lot of water.
Yeah.
But people would come in to where I worked at, and we were just like, give us your containers, and we'll fill them up. That's, was not a problem. We did it for free. So, but it was just, these poor people, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to live in Salem. Salem is not a place. I wouldn't want to live in Salem, and I wouldn't want to live in Portland. No. But I will shop in Salem before I shop in Portland.
And it's kind of funny because I'm sitting there when we were eating lunch. I'm sitting there going, there are so many people here. There is no way that I could handle that for more than like a couple days. I couldn't do it. I start freezing up. I start not talking good stuff.
He did fine. He did fine. I introduced him to a couple of the people that I knew there, and hopefully Rick will get on and he'll join up. So anyway, this has been a wonderful weekend. I hope everybody else had a really great weekend. We watched a lot of YouTube.
Yep, that's my jam.
And we went out and had sushi.
Yep, we did.
Sean is a sworn-in sushi snob.
Yes, I am. Well, let me explain myself here. Okay, I actually like sushi. Okay, and I know it's an acquired taste, but I like real sushi. American sushi is not real sushi. They make a valiant attempt, but no. That's just the way it is. And when I'm sitting there at a sushi bar watching cheesecake float by, I'm reminded at that point, this is an American sushi joint, okay?
I was sitting there and I was watching. It's what they call a train, a sushi train. Anyway, as the sushi is going by, I'm going, that's cheesecake. He starts to laugh. What is that? what? There's more cheesecake. Why? And then, of course, they come up with some other things like, I don't know what that orange thing was, but it was really, really good. Up until the end when you got the chemically taste, and then it wasn't any good anymore.
Yeah, the chemical aftertaste. Yep.
But the red bean paint little balls.
Yeah.
With this toasted sesame, those are awesome. So, and Ken and I, of course, you know, we had all kinds of sushi, but the least favorite on our menu was the little red octopuses.
Yeah, I didn't get to eat any of those. I would have loved to have eaten those because I love octopus, but they're soaked in teriyaki, and unfortunately, old Sean will die if he eats too much soy.
Yeah. So, but Ken and I were picking them up by the head and eating them and their brains.
Yum! Brains! Brains!
Sure. Well, the girl that was sitting across from us, she was looking at it, and she was looking at the guy that was sitting across from her, and as the little red octopuses go by, she looks at him, and he's like, no, no, no. So when they came by to us, I just picked it up, and I said, no, because there was one in there that we had eaten before that was really good. This one, it was okay. It was just the idea that when I popped it in my mouth, the head exploded, and I was realizing that I'm eating octopus brain, and that was not appealing to me. Sorry, guys.
Yum.
Oh, yeah, yum.
See, that's one thing. I'm not squeamish when it comes to food. I've tried. Okay. I've had real Alaska native food, and yeah, not a fan of a lot of it. But
some of it can be really, really, really
rank,
disgusting.
So rank.
I don't hear any other word.
Stinky food. Okay, if you guys aren't familiar with kimchi, it's cabbage and vegetables and stuff that are fermented. It comes from like Korea, Japan. So they've got their own version of kimchi up in Alaska. It's called stinky food, and it's primarily meat.
Fermented, spoiled.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rotten, fermented. And another delicacy of theirs is fermented beaver tail. Not a fan.
No. But I have to admit, having a roasted caribou head was really good.
Caribou actually is pretty tasty. I was kind of surprised because I kept getting told that as as a white guy, I wouldn't appreciate a lot of the big game up there, and it was like, you guys are full of yourselves. But yeah. I'm also somebody that really enjoys bear meat, and
I can't do it.
Yeah, and that seems to be because it's really gamey, and a lot of people that have the biggest problem with bear meat, it mostly has to do with the way it looks when it's hanging. It's I don't know how to put this. I don't know how to put this lightly, but it when it's hanging and you've skinned it, it looks like a human. So it turns a lot of people off. It turns a lot of people off to eating bear. Plus, they're a very spiritual animal, and a lot of people have a hard time. There's a story with the Native Americans about brown bear and why you shouldn't eat brown bear. They said that they were told that they could eat black bear but not brown bear, and if they did, they would be punished. And they're like, okay, well, one winter they were low on food, So they decided that they were going to go hunting, and they came across a brown bear and they killed it. And when they went to go cook the meat turned to ash, and the ash turned to mosquitoes.
Oh, jeez.
So that's where mosquitoes come from. That was their punishment for eating brown bear meat.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Well, I just being, and I know some people will eat their totems, but I can't. I can't put that. I just can't. I don't know. When I was working in the meat factory over in Delta Junction, they would come in with bear, and the guys would hang them and do them, and I was just like, no, okay, I'm sure you make the best jerky. I'm sure it's all really good, but personally, I cannot do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's to each their own. I mean, with me, there's a lot of tender-hearted people out there that I have no issue with. Everybody has the right to have their opinions, and if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, I've got no problem with you at all. Everybody chooses their own path, and I really feel that I should be given the same courtesy as far as the way that I do things, because I am one of these type of people that feel that if there is a need to go out and shoot an animal to feed yourself or feed your family, then go out and shoot the animal. Okay, it's not a matter of principle, it's a matter of survival. And if your principles outweigh your survival, you're dead. Seriously, you're just dead. And if you think that your opinions do outweigh survival, you haven't been in a survival situation. Unfortunately, I've been in more than one, and I know what I'm capable of. And I also know that when it comes down to it, I am going to be, one of the last ones standing, because I'm not going to give up without a fight. I'm going to do whatever it takes to survive. And there's a lot of people like me out there. And so these tender-hearted people, bless their hearts, okay, they don't stand a chance if things happen to where we have to break down into a survival situation. So, that's what that breaks down to, and call me what you will, but at the end of the day, I'm a survivor. So.
Well, and that's the same thing there. If I had to, then I know that it would come. It would be. I would get the nourishment I needed. But this light is just horrendous. You can't see anything. Oh.
So, anyway, tonight, after this, I'm ambitious because we started late because of my drive, and so I'm going to pump out a couple of videos into Non and On and On tonight on the subject of, is it a problem or is it a solution? And I think tonight we're gonna, let's see what we're gonna address, shall we? We're gonna go after welfare to work, and I'm gonna save recycling. I'm gonna wait on recycling because I actually can conduct some interviews for that one. So I think I'm going to do welfare to work tonight, and let's do language, because I think language is a good base subject for the numerous other subjects that I have, because Language is very important when you want to express your thoughts. So we're going to talk about language and exactly what it is and why it is so important and so nonsensical at the same time. So
Yeah. No, and I think it's a really good one to do because there's language that we use that other people get upset over, and I think that it just need to be made clear. I love the this weekend when you were showing the video of how the guy broke it down, and what did they call it? What was it called?
it's called quantum syntax.
Yeah, that was because Sean actually speaks it often and a lot of times has to repeat himself to me because I'm like, what? What did you just say? And then he tells me what he says and I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand. But it is breaking it down, and it was very interesting to listen to the guy talk about it.
Well,
yeah,
what?
We're really excited. We're really exciting people to get around.
Well, I'm not gonna jump completely into it right now, but with the quantum syntax, the thing that makes it so cool is the fact that it doesn't just outline what you're saying, but it puts it into a legal parameter to where there is no misidentification or misunderstanding what is being said, because the outline of it is completely legally encompassing. So all parties that are in that sentence or in that syntax are identified. All verbiage is identified as what it actually is. It isn't just generalized like what our verbs are. It is completely outlined, and even though it may take you 5 minutes to say something that should take 45 seconds, there is no questions as far as what was being said, because everything that is within the syntax is self-checking and self-verifying, and it's laid out beautifully. And if you guys want to check it out, just I know it gets boring, but if you look at what it is, if it was included into our legal system right now, nobody would ever get away with anything. Ever. Because it has self-check systems to where it'll identify truth and non-truth. So it's beautifully put out there. I put a playlist. I think I put a playlist on Non and On and On's page for the quantum syntax videos. I recommend them, especially if you're into that and you want to see what our language actually should be. Because if we spoke like this, nobody would be able to ever lie. Ever. It would be immediately identified, and it would be completely null and void. So, yeah, it's pretty cool and nerdy and boring to a lot of people. But yeah.
I just found it really interesting. So, but like I said, hey, you guys hang around with us. You can get bored.
Woo! Really bored. We're a laugh a minute. Yeah. It is party time.
You can tell by all of our live feeds.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? We're supposed to be talking about gold. Well, unfortunately, we're not gold mining. But here's a cool thing. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to purchase a small pan. Sean has left with me his pay dirt, and I'm going to show you how to do some kitchen sink panning.
Yeah, what we'll do is I left her some pay dirt, and I've got some pay dirt, and I'm going to set up my tub, and she's going to set up her tub. And this next weekend, we are going to pan for gold. Something highly unusual on a mining show.
Related to actual mining. So
Yeah.
I did go over and talk to Leanne, and Leanne showed me all of her treasures. And Leanne happens to be a neighbor of mine, but she's also a very avid rock hound. But like me, she's an amateur. So to find out what rocks she actually has, we need to sit down and break them down so that we can go through and look. And we have to do research.
Yeah.
So
Well,
anyway,
there's a couple of
I
apps.
did get to see her. What?
There's a couple of apps. I've been checking them out. They're mineral and gem identification applications for your phone or device, and they're pretty cool. They're not as good as, say, a plant identifier, to where you take a picture of the plant and it tells you what it is. They haven't gotten to that point yet, but the pictures are pretty good. When you look at them next to a picture, when you look at a rock next to a picture of different rocks based on color and blah, 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 it does help a lot. In fact, I've got one mystery rock that, when we were watching a YouTube video, they were talking about turquoise and turquoise mining. Now, I found about a fist-size rock that's got turquoise on it. And I found it out by Antelope, which there's no turquoise here, but this is turquoise. So I'm going to have to go out there, because it was in a dry creek bed. I'm going to have to go find where the source is from, because it's a raw specimen, which means it's very rough. It's very weathered. It's not a specimen that was maybe left out there accidentally. It's really remote out there anyway. There's nobody that's going to be out leaving their rock collection in the ditch. So, but this is, there's actually quite a bit of turquoise on it. And when I looked at it, I was like, this feels like turquoise, but this area is not known for turquoise. It's known for quicksilver, which is mercury, and there's a few gold mines out there, but couldn't get close enough to them because of the private property issues. Same with the quicksilver mines. But I want to go back out, and I want to go look for some turquoise, because if we can find a turquoise vein, I can't even begin to tell you. This is the type of stuff that I end up finding is weird anomalies. So if we can find a turquoise vein where there's no turquoise, that would be par for the course in Sean's world. So
yeah.
But what I'll do is next weekend, actually, you know what? One day I'll bring out my rocks, because I've got my like last summer when I brought out the rocks out of storage. I'm cleaning out my storage right now, so what I'll do is I'll bring out my rocks. We'll take a look at them. I'll show you exactly where they're coming from. Yeah, because I got some pretty good specimens. I'm really impressed, but somebody took, and I'm not going to mention her name that I was married to, not her, a lot of the good specimens I had, and I think that was pretty shady. So I just found that out, by the way, so that's why I mentioned it.
Yeah, well, we'll find better ones. So.
Yep, they were all my ghost obsidian. I had a bunch of. It's called ghost obsidian, and then there's some silver obsidian, which looks like it's got silver flakes in it. And the ghost obsidian's really cool because it's actually got these really super weird, like almost gray anomalies throughout the black, and it's like it's not clear, like it's not defined. It kind of fades in and fades out, so it's called ghost obsidian. But that stuff is so hard to find. I lucked out every time I found a piece, and yeah.
She had a big clump, and I mean a clump of obsidian, and it was very, when I look at obsidian, it has a lot of sharp edges on it.
Yeah.
And this was a huge clump, and there was no sharp edges on it, but it was obsidian.
Was it rounded?
And yeah.
Okay, then what it is, okay, and I've got a piece like that. What happens is most of the pieces that people find are off of big, huge flows. And those big flows, since it's glass, they crack, they fracture, they break off, and that's why you find pieces of obsidian, for the most part, that are jagged and sharp and that'll cut you bad. These pieces that are like have bubbles and they're formed really weird. They almost look like coral in a way. What they are offshoots. They're the ends of these flows. So they're reaching out and cooling, and that's the end of the flow. So occasionally you come across these, and I did find one up at Glass Butte. I love those things. I think they're super cool, and if you put them in a tumbler, you can actually get them to shine up with those anomalistic balls and stuff on them. But like I said, I'll bring one out next week when we do our shows. So, but it says Rebecca is watching. So, hey, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
So
she had a lot of petrified wood.
Nice.
From one of her journeys.
Love petrified wood.
And she had one piece that's like this long and about this big around.
Yeah.
And I was like, cut the bottom off, make a pillar out of it.
Actually,
put a candle on it.
Somewhere.
All of a sudden, these things pop in my head like, oh my gosh, there's so much you could do with this.
Somewhere I have some petrified birch from Alaska, and I've actually somewhere I've got some really weird rock specimens that I found in glacier pushes. What that is when you're in a glacier trail, the ice pushes all the sediment up ahead of it, and then when the glacier melts off, you're left with these giant piles of gravel, pretty much. And there was one pile of gravel, and I know this sounds like it's a spooky ghost story, but it is. So while I was up in Alaska, Tan and I were split up at the time, and I was staying on the other side of Big Lake, way out in nowhere. There's, the nearest neighbor is, miles away. And there was a glacier push that my camp was right up against. And I I just have a habit of picking up rocks and looking at them carefully just in case, there might be gold in the ore that you're looking at. And so I'm looking at these rocks, and I'm noticing that on each one it looks like they've got a face. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so I'm picking up other rocks, and they've all got faces on them. And I started getting a little bit weirded out because it wasn't just like, oh, there's two dots that look like eyes and a dot that looks like a nose. They were actually had cracks, and they were, they were faces. And it was kind of creepy. And then after that, you can't unsee them. So it's like you're walking around looking at the ground, and all these faces are looking back at you. So needless to say, I moved camp. But I did find this one rock that was really peculiar. It was probably about yay big around. And it looked like it was the edge of a stone box or something, because there was, it made up a perfect corner of something it was broke off, but it had like carved edge on the base, and then it had almost like a some kind of a design down the side. And this is a glacier push. These glaciers receded, tens of thousands of years ago. So it's not likely that it actually came from something, but I always thought it was very odd that nature would fool me with three 90-degree right angles. So,
yeah,
very interesting.
yeah. It's that I love rock hounding, and but I had to give up all my rocks from Alaska. So, because my sister was like, I cannot mail these to you. Why do you have rocks? Tan, you have boxes of rocks.
That's because
like, yeah,
we collected rocks up there because Alaska is running out.
rocks,
I'm serious, people. Alaska's running out of rocks at a very fast pace, so you better get up there and you better get some rocks. Get your rocks.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, I just told her, I said, well, you do with them what you want to do with them. It's obviously, when Sean goes up to go get all the stuff to bring it back, he can pick me up some more rocks.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay. Sure, why not? Who knows? Maybe I might get to go with you.
Maybe.
I would love to go do fishing.
I just want to go up in mine. You know what? I love salmon. I love the flavor. They're like one of my favorite foods. But salmon be damned when there's gold on the line.
Well, okay. I have an idea for you, hun. I'll go do the salmon, and you can go get the gold.
Deal.
Because you know, 1,000 pounds worth of salmon is not that hard for me to get.
I'm not going to be able to get 1,000 pounds of gold. I wouldn't mind getting 1,000 pounds of gold, mind you. But, yeah, it's probably not going to happen.
One time I went fishing. I'm not going to give the whole story. I'll just tell you that I went fishing. And in Alaska, natives were allowed, I don't know if it's still the same, but natives are allowed to get up to 1,000 pounds worth of salmon.
Yeah, I think that's still the rule.
I'm part Native American, so I took advantage of the situation. What I didn't realize is what 1,000 pounds worth of salmon actually looks like. Oh my gosh. Yes, we had a lot of fish. And oh my goodness, it was really a great time. And I had great dogs. And people don't want to fish around me because if you cross my line, I'm going to snap yours.
Yeah, her and I'll go toe-to-toe on that one because she knows how I feel about those people.
Yeah, what, those people that will snap your line if you go across theirs?
Yeah, like her. She is horrible. Horrible when it comes to fishing. Okay.
I have my spot. You stay out of my spot. When you're looking down into that water and there is like a gazillion of them threats of salmon coming up there, and you're going, all you gotta do is throw your line in. One of them's gonna bite it. It's inevitable. They're going to bite it. There's too many of them going through. And I don't like combat fishing. Combat fishing, it's not for me.
Okay.
And so
do you want to know exactly where the term combat fishing came from? Do you want to see? Do you want to see where combat fishing came from? Hi, I'm Sean. This is Tan. She is the reason why it is termed combat fishing. Because with her, it's not about a fun, relaxing event to go out and catch some fish. It's more like warfare. And you better not tread upon her space because she shall cut you, and she shall cut you deep.
No, I'll just snap your line.
And she's so friendly out there, too. You can't believe how friendly she is with the guy next to her. It's like, hey, would you get back over into your space? That's when she flicks out her switchblade and says, I'll cut you.
I don't use a switchblade.
Her box cutter.
Hunting knife.
Hunting. That's not a knife. This is a knife.
It's a knife. But I had a couple dogs that I absolutely adored, and they knew where my space was at, and I had a couple people coming into my space, and the dogs were like, don't worry, Mom, we'll take care of this. So all I did was I just put rocks around where I was at, and, that's my space. I told you where it is. It's my space, but don't cross my line.
Yep.
It irritates me when you cross my line. Not only am I getting your fish, then there's a possibility it could cause my line to snag on something, and snagging is wrong. That's not catching fish. That's cheating.
That's catching fish in their other mouth. There's nothing wrong with that.
in their fins. No. I want to fish, and I would be more than happy to fish. And combat fishing also, if some of you don't know about it, is when you're out there all by yourself
with a gun.
You're enjoying the peace and quiet, and then all of a sudden 15 people drive up and they just start lining up the area.
And that's when Tan starts shooting at them. And that's why it's called combat fishing.
I'm just like, really, guys? And they're all out there drinking and they're talking loud, and I'm just like, really? Seriously? No. Fishing is peaceful, and
until the
Just-
combat starts, and then the peace goes away. Until Tan is left standing and there's bodies everywhere.
Yeah, I know. I'm not good at fishing with other people. I'm sorry.
Or
It's
cooking.
like cooking in the kitchen.
Yeah, cooking with other
Sean,
people, or driving on the road with other people, or there's a couple of things that she doesn't do well with other people.
Oh, okay.
That's why we get along, is because I don't play well with others, and I don't make any bones about it. So we all know that Sean doesn't do well around people in general. So
We both have somewhat bad sandbox skills. See, one of the reasons why he likes me, he threw sand at me first. That's okay. I threw the sand back. There's no sand in the sandbox by the time we got done, right?
yep, that's it. And then
I know.
and then Merlin's like, hey, what happened to my litter box?
I was saying a sandbox, not a litter box. I'm not throwing cat roots. God, Sean. I'm not throwing cat stuff at you.
She throws cat grenades at me. I throw sand at her and she throws cat grenades back.
We're the one that brought up the litter, okay? Alright, these people have seen enough of our goofiness.
Oh, I don't
Yeah,
know.
we are
I
like
guess
all
that's
the time
subjectable.
What?
I said that's subjectable.
Subjectable?
Yep. Of course, I'm kind of interested
What,
to
that
see
we're like this all-
how glitchy the video is going to be. Hopefully the audio is not completely toast because, yeah. We'll find out.
It is what it is.
It is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Alright, dear.
Okay.
Just look what time it is.
Yep. Do your thing.
I'm sure these people are bored with listening to us.
Yeah, we were so prepared.
I can't-
We were so prepared. Not. So, I apologize. This week was weird. So.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But, you guys, I'm gonna go. This is becoming a telephone call for the world to see now. So, anyway, I love you guys. You have a great week. And just be really safe out there. And, I love you. Your turn, Sean.
Alrighty, guys, as always, we love each and every one of you. You guys make sure to take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, we are out of here until next Saturday, 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will be a lot more prepared, and this week should be a breeze. Should be a piece of cake for you guys. I heard good things. Little birdie told me you got good things coming this week. So we'll see you guys next weekend. And until then, we are out of here. Peace.